In today's video, thanks to the Home Depot Seeds program, we're looking at the inPlace 36-inch bracket shelf. Kit includes 2 easy anchors, 2 screws, instruction sheet. The finish is natural driftwood. It is solid wood. Measures 36 from end to end. Supposedly has a height of 3.5, though we discovered from the top of the bracket to the bottom, it's only 3 inches. Depth of the shelf is 5 inches. We actually found it to be more like 4 inches. There's a 1/2 inch backboard, so that eats into it. The pieces use no fasteners for attaching, so unless they're hidden, it's probably glued on, but you can see where they come together on the ends. The bracket wraps around. It's soldered at 2 different points. Soldering is inconsistent. You can see here the poor finish on this weld. It's actually opened up, and you can even see through it. The brackets are held in place by 2 fasteners, which are not flush to the surface, and I also found stains on the wood. While picking a location on the wall, I noticed that the bracket didn't sit flush. There was a little bit of play. When putting a square to the bracket, you see that opening there? That's because the bracket is bent, so therefore it's uneven even if you happen to have a straight wall. Possible solution might be to bend the bracket, but then you might damage the finish, or just hoping that the wall's crooked enough that it doesn't make a difference. But still, these 2 brackets should be squared and should be identical, and they're not. On the plus side, the finish is smooth. There are no sharp or unsanded edges. And I think they did a real nice job with that. Although, again, they didn't catch that, but, that's going to be on the bottom side, so no one should see it. So let's mount it and see what it looks like. Since the unit is 36 inches wide and studs tend to be 16 on center, if we were able to get a stud on this end, then we'd have another one here and probably about here, so we never would be able to get both sides of the bracket into a stud. As it is, the wall that we want to mount this on has a stud at this end. It runs 44 inches across to the other end, meaning that at 16 I have a stud. That doesn't help me because that would place the shelf way off center, and being 36, that's 4 inches in, so there's really no stud here. And at the other end, 4 inches from here would center the shelf, and again, no stud there. What this means is that unless there happens to be a fire stop that goes across, I won't be able to go into a stud, and so these easy anchors will have to bear all the weight. As we go to mount the shelf, I put a little bag with some painter's tape so that when I drill, that falls there and I don't get yelled at. We hold up where we think we want to drill, we put a pencil mark in the hole, and we drill our first hole. Then we'll put our screw and anchor in here, and then we'll use a level to make sure that the second fastener and anchor are straight. I used a 1/4 inch bit to drill the hole. That'll allow my easy anchor greater access. And because we're not going to be able to hit any studs in this operation, the shelf isn't going to be able to take the full load, but in our case, our shelf is just going to hold little pretty decorative things, so weight's not going to become an issue for us. But if weight is an issue for yours, at least one of your fasteners needs to be into a stud. We drive the easy anchor with a number 2 Phillips. Oops, and you're hoping that that doesn't happen. In trying to remove the easy anchor, it broke off. So I don't have a flush surface. So now I'm going to try my oscillating saw to see if I can get that flush to the surface. Otherwise, the bracket's going to be sticking out. Once done with the oscillating saw, I will be able to mount. I do have to do some touch-up painting, but at least I was able to get it flush to the wall. With the fastener partially driven in, we're able to line up the other end, make sure that it's level, and then we'll mark that side of the wall for the screw so that we can drill a hole for the easy anchor. Here you see the easy anchor in place. The difference between this and the first attempt was that I used a 1/4 inch bit to just get the opening, and then I rounded that out, enlarged it a little bit more so that this went in much easier and was able to go all the way in without failing. Now all we have to do is get the bracket in position and put our screw in. With my assistant holding up the board, we place our fastener in and we drill it into place. So that was driven into place, and then we finish off the first one, which is still protruding. Along with all the critiques that you've already heard about the board, I think the anchors are kind of weak. They probably should have been metal. Though I've worked with other plastic ones that have been much harder to drive, and I have never had them fail. So I'm surprised that that happened. It moves a little bit only because, you know, the only support is on the high side. There's nothing on the bottom side. I wish the brackets were optional because I would have loved to have gone with a floating shelf system, but that would have taken a bit more engineering. Anyway, it's up. It looks nice. And would I recommend it? Yeah, as long as you can deal with some of the caveats with, you know, we talked about the bracket not being level, the workmanship on the bracket not being so great. The wood they actually did a great job with, except for some minor stains on the underside. So, you know, you sort of have to decide if some of those cons are too much for you, then maybe this is not the shelf for you. But for us, it seems like it's going to work out just fine for the purposes we needed it for. If you found this video interesting or useful, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, join the subscription team, and as always, thank you ever so much for watching.